Imagine a routine flight. A bright spring morning over the Mediterranean. 144 passengers and 6 crew members heading home to Dusseldorf. Everything normal. Polite conversation in the cockpit. Then, one small decision, one locked door, and in just 11 minutes, the plane begins a controlled descent, straight into the French Alps, all 150 lives lost. This is the story of Germanwings Flight 9525, a tragedy that shook aviation forever and forced the world to confront something no one wanted to face. Germanwings Flight 9525 was a scheduled commercial passenger flight, operated by Germanwings, a low-cost subsidiary of Lufthansa. The aircraft was an Airbus A320-211, registered as D-AIPX. It was 24 years old at the time, powered by 2 CFM International CFM56 engines, a reliable workhorse in the skies. The flight originated from Barcelona-El Prat Airport in Spain. Destination was Dusseldorf International Airport in Germany. Date was 24th of March 2015. Takeoff time local was 10:01 Central European Time, which is 9:01 UTC. The flight was delayed by about 26 minutes due to normal operational reasons. Weather conditions were clear that morning. No significant turbulence or storms reported. Visibility excellent over the route. The crew consisted of 2 pilots and 4 cabin crew. Captain Patrick Sondenheimer was the pilot monitoring. He had over 6,000 flying hours, an experienced and respected captain. First Officer Andreas Lubitz was the pilot flying. He had around 630 hours total time, much less experience, but qualified on the A320. There were 144 passengers on board, including families, students, and business travelers. Many were returning from a school exchange trip, a total of 150 souls. The outbound leg earlier that day had been normal. From Dusseldorf to Barcelona, same crew, no reported issues. The aircraft had undergone routine maintenance, no known technical problems. Cockpit door was a reinforced security door, installed post 9/11. It could be locked from inside, with a keypad for entry from outside. Emergency override existed, but required time. The flight plan was straightforward. Climb to cruise altitude of 38,000 feet, then cruise over southern France, direct to waypoint IRMAR, then descend into Dusseldorf. Expected flight time about 1 hour 45 minutes. Everything seemed routine as the plane taxied to runway 07R. The pilots performed standard checks. Engines started. Taxi clearance received. Takeoff clearance given at 900 hours UTC. The A320 accelerated down the runway, lifted off smoothly, gear up, flaps retracting, autopilot engaged shortly after. In climb and nav mode, auto thrust active. The climb was normal, passing through 10,000 feet, then 20,000. Cabin crew began preparations. Passengers settled in at around 9:12 UTC. A flight attendant entered the cockpit. Buzzer sounded briefly. Door opened and closed. Light conversation followed about the stop in Barcelona, how the delay happened, crew bonding moment, and nothing unusual. At 9:15 UTC, the flight attendant left. Door closed again. Pilots discussed the delay, how to make up time. Captain mentioned he needed the bathroom, but hadn't gone before takeoff. Co-pilot acknowledged. Conversation remained friendly, even lighthearted at times. At 9:27 UTC, the aircraft leveled off at flight level 380, 38,000 feet. Cruise altitude reached. Contact with Marseille en route control. Frequency 133.330 megahertz. Then transferred to 127.180 megahertz. At 9:30 UTC. Captain read back clearance. Direct to IRMAR. Last radio communication. Direct IRMAR Mercy Germanwings 18 Golf. Captain then told the co-pilot. He was leaving for the lavatory. Asked him to handle communications. Co-pilot replied affirmatively. At 9:30:08 UTC. Captain left the seat. Heading selected decreased slightly to align with IRMAR. At 9:30:13 UTC, pilot seat movement sounds. At 9:30:24 UTC, cockpit door opened, then closed 3 seconds later. Captain was now out. Co-pilot alone in cockpit for the first time. Silence on the CVR. No verbal response. At 9:31 UTC, autopilot altitude selector changed from 38,000 feet to 100 feet. Selected mode. Autopilot remained engaged. Plane began descent. Initially gentle, but programmed to descend. Speed target changed to 308 knots from current 273 knots. Aircraft accelerated slightly. Descent rate increased around 3,400 feet per minute. A TC noticed no response. Tried calling.
Germanwings Marseille, confirm what cruising altitude you're cleared for.
Germanwings, this is Marseille. Come in, please.
We've got a problem here. Germanwings unresponsive, descending rapidly.
Germanwings 9525 unresponsive. Radar showed descent, rapid but controlled. Captain returned, tried the door buzzer, no response. He knocked, called out, "For God's sake, open the door!" No answer. More banging, desperate now. Interphone used, still nothing. At this point, the door was locked, from inside. Lock position selected. Keypad disabled for 5 minutes. Emergency code would take 30 seconds. But never entered. Or perhaps not possible. CVR captured breathing, steady and calm. From the co-pilot, no panic, no words, just silence. And the sound of the descent. The descent continued steadily, controlled by the autopilot. No erratic movements, no attempt to recover. A TC called repeatedly. Germanwings 18 Golf, confirm your altitude. No response. Radar showed the plane dropping from 38,000 feet, through 30,000, then 20,000. Rate steady at around 3,400 feet per minute. Passengers likely noticed first. A gentle but persistent descent. No announcement from cockpit. Cabin crew may have wondered, but intercom silent at around 9:33 UTC. Breathing remained calm, regular inhales and exhales from the co-pilot alone. No signs of struggle, no distress. Captain continued banging, louder now, shouting through the door. "For God's sake, open the door," repeated pleas. Banging intensified, metal on metal, desperate. But the reinforced door held firm, designed post 9/11 to prevent intrusion. Ironically, it now trapped the captain out, and the passengers inside their fate. At 9:35 UTC, autopilot speed increased again, to maximum. Plane accelerated in descent. Ground proximity warning system activated. Terrain, terrain. Repeated warnings, sink rate alert. Pull up, but no action taken. Co-pilot silent, breathing steady. At 9:38 UTC, passengers began to scream. Audible on CVR. Fear rising. Realization dawning. The plane was not recovering. It was heading down. Intentionally. Captain still outside. Banging. Yelling. Using the emergency code, perhaps. But time limited. The lockout was set for 5 minutes. Override possible, but complex. No evidence it was attempted successfully, or at all. At 9:40 UTC, master caution sounded, then master warning. Continuous until impact, alarms blaring, GPWS screaming. Pull up, terrain closure. Yet no throttle movement, no side stick input to override. Autopilot stayed engaged until perhaps the final seconds. At 9:41:06 UTC, the aircraft struck the terrain at high speed, around 700 kilometers per hour, in the French Alps, near Prades Hautes, Bléon, elevation about 1,550 meters, wreckage scattered over a steep slope, no fire post impact due to fragmentation. All 150 lives lost instantly. The CVR stopped at impact. Now, what went wrong? This was not an accident in the traditional sense. No mechanical failure initiated it. No weather anomaly forced it. No design flaw in the aircraft. The Airbus A320 performed as designed. Autopilot responded to inputs. The cockpit door functioned correctly. The tragedy stemmed from deliberate human action, specifically from the co-pilot, who, while alone, intentionally selected a very low target altitude, 100 feet, the minimum possible. He increased descent speed, locked the door, ignored all calls, and allowed, no, ensured, the plane fly into the mountain. This classifies as unlawful interference, a deliberate act, often termed pilot suicide or murder-suicide. The official BEA final report from March 2016 concluded precisely this. The collision with the ground was due to the deliberate and planned action of the co-pilot, who decided to commit suicide while alone in the cockpit. Primary cause, intentional descent into terrain. No hypoxia, no incapacitation. Evidence showed purposeful inputs. Steady breathing throughout, no panic. Even practice on the outbound flight earlier that day, where similar low altitude was selected briefly, when captain was absent. Human error here is extreme, but not accidental. It was volitional.
We express our deepest sympathy for the relatives of the passengers killed and the crew members. We think about the victims at this moment. At the same time, we will do as much as possible with the authorities to find out the reason for this crash.
Contributing heavily was the co-pilot's severe mental health decline, unreported and unmanaged. History dated back to 2008, a severe depressive episode, treated, then waiver on medical certificate, stating invalid if relapse. In late 2014, symptoms returned. Worse. Psychotic depressive episode suspected. Multiple doctor visits. Antidepressants prescribed. One doctor diagnosed possible psychosis in March 2015. Recommended hospital treatment. Sick notes issued. But not all forwarded to employer. Critically, no doctor informed aviation authorities due to German medical confidentiality laws. Co-pilot feared losing his license, so hid symptoms. Did not self-report. No colleague or family alerted anyone. Thus, no intervention possible. He flew that day, with full access to the controls.
We've seen this before. It can be very difficult to find them because with impact like this, that little device, which is slightly bigger than a baseball and very dense, can go quite a distance.
And flying it into the side of a mountain. He could have done it very violently. We've seen that in the past in a couple of these kinds of mishaps where, but this is it's quite chilling, and it seems to have been deliberately with the intent to taunt the passengers.
Yeah, very chilling. And in fact,
the BEA investigation was thorough and transparent, led by the French Bureau d'Enquête et d'Analyse, assisted by German BFU and Spanish authorities. CVR and FDR data recovered intact. Wreckage analysis confirmed no pre-impact structural failure. No evidence of fire,
juste avant l'impact final,
explosion, or sabotage.
Seconds. Even the prosecutor had trouble recounting the deadly end of this flight.
Autopilot and autothrust logs matched the inputs. Altitude selector deliberately changed to 100 feet. Heading adjustments minor, but intentional. No attempts to disengage autopilot or apply manual control to climb. Co-pilot's medical history uncovered. Severe recurrent depression, diagnosed since 2008, treated with psychotherapy and medication. Temporary unfit for flying, then certified fit again. With the condition, immediate report if symptoms return. In December 2014, new depressive episode began, worsened rapidly. By March 2015, severe symptoms, insomnia, anxiety, suicidal ideation. Visited 41 doctors in total over years, including psychiatrists. Multiple sick notes issued, one from March 10th, 2015. unfit to work. Another on March 23rd, same. But these were not sent to Lufthansa. Co-pilot tore them up, hid them from employer, feared job loss. German privacy laws protected medical info. Doctors could not disclose to employer unless patient consented or imminent danger proven. No system required doctors to notify aviation authority, unlike many other countries. No colleague reported concerns, despite co-pilot mentioning depression to some. Family unaware of severity, no red flags raised in time. The official BEA report stated clearly, the co-pilot deliberately and repeatedly refused to open the cockpit door.
High school in Haltern in northwest Germany are among the 150 presumed dead. The students had spent a week as exchange students in Spain and were returning when the flight crashed.
He intentionally set the selected altitude to the lowest possible value. His actions were consistent with a suicide plan. No contributing mechanical or weather factors. The cockpit door locking system worked as designed. But in this scenario, it prevented the captain from regaining control. So the report classified the event as deliberate act by the co-pilot leading to the crash, not an accident. Training programs evolved significantly. Many airlines now include mandatory mental health modules in recurrent simulator sessions. Crisis resource management expanded to cover psychological threats, not just technical ones. Pilots learned to recognize signs. In themselves and colleagues, the I'm safe to fly self-assessment became more structured. Some carriers require daily mood checks via apps or briefings. Before duty, global aviation bodies pushed for better data sharing between medical examiners and regulators without violating privacy entirely. The goal: balance safety with dignity, reduce stigma around seeking help, because untreated mental illness is far riskier than disclosure. In the years since March 2015, no similar deliberate cockpit crash has occurred. The safeguards appear effective. Two-person rule deters isolation. Better screening catches issues earlier. Peer support encourages openness. The industry learned painfully that mental health is as critical as engines, or hydraulics, or weather radar. One person's hidden pain can endanger hundreds, but collective vigilance can protect them. In conclusion, Germanwings. Flight 9525 remains one of aviation's darkest chapters. Not because of mechanical failure, or unpredictable weather, or poor design, but because one individual, in a moment of profound despair, chose to end his life and took 149 others with him. The co-pilot's actions were deliberate, the descent controlled, the outcome inevitable once the door locked. Yet the tragedy exposed vulnerabilities in how we screen, monitor, and support pilots, in how cockpit security.
There are no known survivors. There's a high number of Spaniards, Germans, and Turks.
Designed to protect, can sometimes isolate, and in how medical confidentiality, meant to safeguard the individual, can conflict with collective safety. The changes that followed were swift and far-reaching. Two-person cockpit protocols, stricter mental health oversight, destigmatization efforts, anonymous reporting channels, all born from this single flight. A flight that lasted less than 2 hours, but whose lessons endure. Today, when a pilot steps away from the cockpit, a colleague often takes their place. When a pilot feels overwhelmed, there are now more paths to help, without immediate career loss. Aviation became safer, not through new technology alone, but through greater humanity, greater empathy, and greater responsibility toward those who fly us. We remember the 150 lives lost, passengers returning home, a school group full of promise, crew members dedicated to service, and the co-pilot himself, whose suffering went unseen until it was too late. Their memory drives improvement, so that no flight, ever again, ends in deliberate silence. and controlled descent into tragedy. Thank you for watching. If this video helped you understand the importance of mental health in aviation,